All right, everybody. Hey, how's it going? I hope you can hear me well. It's Thursday night. We're back again doing the OnoLive Coffee and Cigars live stream here. And how's everyone doing tonight? Good to see you. I hope this is not shaking too much. I've moved to a new setup here, as you can see. This is actually also still in the Spro Street, but it's actually my desk where I do most of the work that I do. And I just did this whole new desk where it's one of these like adjustable height desk, so it's a little bit wobbly. So I hope it's not too. So if you think that there's an earthquake going on, it's not really happening. It's just me wobbling. So hopefully the sound sounds pretty good, and the image is coming coming well through. And yeah. So how was your Thanksgiving? How was the week? I did a lot of leftovers after Thanksgiving. We made a nice spread, so there was a lot of stuffing waffles going on. So that was really, I forgot who gave me the idea, but that was really a great idea. You take the stuffing, you shove it into a waffle iron, and you wait 5 minutes and you crisp it up and it makes a waffle. But I kind of only did it waffles with leftover turkey, leftover gravy, and then more cranberry sauce. And I was so into that I totally forgot to try the waffles by themselves with just syrup. Maybe I should start making more stuffing so I can do that again. All right. Anyway, but yeah, so that's what's going on. So tell me what you guys are smoking, what you guys are drinking. Let me know. Love to see what you're doing. Drop them in the comments below. And yeah, let's get to it. We're gonna start off as always with coffee. This week's coffee is the Nice Holiday Blend from Spro, and the Nice is part of the Naughty. Should be Naughty and Nice, right? And it's our holiday gift set blend. You can buy them separately or you can buy them together. So $15 each, or together as a set for $25. So save a little bit of money. And what these are the same coffee with different roast profiles. So basically we have a natural process Honduran from Western Honduras, really, really nice coffee. And we've given it a nice medium roast. So we're dropping this one just before first crack, right? And then this one, the Naughty, which is what we had 2 weeks ago now, this one we take a bit past first crack, but definitely not a bit past second crack. Did I say first crack? So just before second, a bit after second, but nowhere near as dark as our darker roast, right? So this has got a plus 40 seconds. I don't know how long it is, but it's definitely darker, but not very dark, not burned. So that's the Naughty. But tonight we're having the Nice, and the Nice is a really, again, it's just before first crack, second crack. I keep saying first. I don't know. Just before first crack is way too light. We're not going to be doing that. All right, so we've already got that pre-ground. We're going to brew in the Chemex, right? So the Chemex, as you know, is just another brewing device made by this guy Schlumbaum in 1941. It's part of the permanent collection at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. You could go see it, but they're closed because of COVID, so can't go see it now. So you can see it here. Look at that. Fantastic. All right, so we're just going to get the filter. And here's something. The filters have been back ordered for months. Like, I've been getting calls all week. People are like, do you have the filters? Yes, we do. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're like one of the only people that have them. And then a buddy of mine who owns Hansa Coffee outside of Chicago, he's like, people are going crazy. Like, he's had to keep them behind the counter because people are coming in and buying like 15 at a time. And he's like, no, you can't. One per person or one per visit. Sadly, they're not going that fast at Spro. People aren't that crazy here in Baltimore. Wish they were, but yeah. So so it was crazy because when I ordered the filters, it was August, and typically with Chemex, we just order and it comes a few days later. So I dropped in the order, sent it electronically, and then a few days later, I'm like, where's my order? So I called them up. I was like, hey, what happened to our order? They're like, well, actually, there's a 6 to 8 week backlog. I was like, what? 6 to 8 weeks? I said, so I told them, well, double our order because or put a second order in, because I had this intention of like, okay, if it's going to take us 6 to 8 weeks, let me put an order now for 2 of them, and so I'll get them staggered. Well, that didn't quite turn out the way that I was thinking. So they all came at once. I've got tons of these filters at the shop. So anyway, you're going to put the filter in, add the coffee. It's already pre-ground. Medium grind is good. Right, like that. I probably should have got a stand. Well, then we're going to get our water. So we've got our hot water. And now we're just going to brew, right? Just brew. You know, Chemex is really simple. You just kind of add a little bit of water, just like that. Let it flow, let it bloom. You can see the blooming here, kind of. Can you? Huh? So we add a little bit just to get the bloom going, and then we'll continue with more. So some of our guests came in today and they're like, well, why did you do the holiday coffee that way? And it's something we've actually done for the last, I think, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years. And I think it's really an interesting exploration that if you get both coffees, since they are the same coffee, some years they're actually a blend. Like this year, it's just a single origin. So it's just a straight coffee. But it's a way to, I think it's a great way to explore coffee and see really, if you take the same coffee, you can see really how much of an impact the roasting has on a coffee. And there's so many ways that you can manipulate the roasting. You know, it's really interesting when you think, well, for someone like myself, it's interesting. Maybe for others, it's rather boring and not even non-consequential. Need some more water. So I hope the sound is coming well, because the meters here look good, but I can't really hear it. So if you can't hear me, then just let me know. If you can, then I guess we'll just continue. Oh, all right. Yeah, you know, we use a lot of different methods of brewing here on the show, and I think we go to Chemex quite a lot, mainly because it's a lot of times because it's one of the simpler methods to use. Maybe as we get more sophisticated in our broadcasting, when we get to the point of having multiple cameras, we can do more complex brewing with different angles and switching. And George, thanks for saying it. It's good. I'm glad it sounds good. How are you doing this week? What do you have going on? What are you smoking up there? There's a little bit of that fruitiness coming through. Oh, yeah. So to brew the coffee, we're really using 24 grams of coffee, ground coffee, medium grind. And then we're using 350 milliliters of water, or 350 grams of water. I'm sure you're familiar, but water is equal to volume and weight as water. As a liquid, water is equal to volume and weight. Yeah. No other liquid is equal that way. So when I'm talking about water, I'll use milliliters and grams interchangeably because of that. All right, so Oh, Rusty just came in from the cold, finishing the CAO Pilon Robusto. Oh, that's a nice one. That's a nice cigar. And now I need some coffee to warm up. So what are you going to brew up there, Rusty? Some of your mom's stuff, because that's some great stuff. And then George is smoking the Wiseman Maduro. You mean that's the Nick Melito, right? The El Huense, right? That's a good cigar. That's a nice cigar. So today we've got this funny looking coffee cup. This is the Chemex coffee cup. So it's meant to mimic the. I got this a couple years ago, and I've been thinking for the last few weeks I need to have like a clear glass mug. And then I remembered that I found this, it's stacked with all kinds of stuff here. So that way people can see how nice the coffee looks. And it's a nice little mug here. All right, so we've got our coffee. As you can see, there it is. Let me get the so we can see a little bit more of the when you put a light on it, and coffee never looks as appetizing as when it's dark, right? It looks more like tea now. All right, let's taste. Oh, that's nice. Nice fruit. A little bit of creaminess. Smooth. So George says tonight feels like a spring night compared to yesterday. I was wondering about that because I've been here in the roastery since like 4 o'clock, so I really haven't left. And because it's all concrete floors here, it's pretty cold because of the radiance of the concrete. But I stepped out a couple minutes, about a half an hour ago, and it seemed relatively mild. I was really surprised. I was kind of worried that it's going to be really chilly in here, but so far I'm actually kind of worried now that it might be a little bit hot. Yeah, definitely yesterday. Yesterday was not bitterly, but really, really cold. Tuesday was cold, yeah. Inting, good to see you. Welcome back. Pairing the Lagavulin 16 with the Kentucky Fire Cured Swamp Thing. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I haven't had a Kentucky Fire Cured in a while. I have to try that again. All right, so we got the coffee ready. It's all good. Again, we're drinking the nice coffee. It's our holiday blend. You can get that if you want on sprocoffee.com. And then our cigar for this evening is also from Tobacco Leaf and Jessup, the Tatuaje Cabaiguan No. 54 Robusto Extra. And when I picked this up at Raul's place a few weeks ago, okay, is it focusing in? There we go. When I picked it up a few weeks ago, I really didn't know that these were line extensions. So there's 2 line extensions, the 52 and the 54, which is a shorter 4 by 5/8 Robusto, and this one is a 5 by 5 and 5/8 by 54 Robusto. Oh, they're both 54. Or is that right? I don't know. I think the other one's 52. This one's 54. Which looks it's closer to a Toro rather than what I would think is a Robusto. Like I remember when I was starting out in the 90s smoking cigars, Robustos were definitively shorter, more like what Illusione with their Rothschilds. It was more that shape, But this one is a line extension. Evidently, it came out in October, and Pete Johnson, made another one. Evidently, he's going to be releasing more line extensions to his, I guess, the Black Label and what is the notes? The notes say. Let me look at the notes here. I know the Black Label is going to be one of them. I'll have to find them in a minute. Yeah, Rusty, it does look like tea. I mean, it's really, and I find that to be true of a lot of coffees. When you put them in glass and you put them up to light, they just kind of look much lighter than what we're used to. Oh yeah, so George loves the Kentucky Fire Cured Swamp Thing. That's the green, the Candela wrapper, right? Oh, you mean, oh, you love this cigar, George. Okay. Yeah, I haven't had a Cabaiguan in a long time. And this will be the first time smoking this one, of course. So of course the country of origin is Nicaragua, and it's Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper with Nicaraguan filler and binder, and yeah, that's it. These, I don't know what the MSRP is offhand. I paid $11.95 for this at Rolls, so it's a little bit on the pricier side. I'm guessing that Pete and Pepin were the blenders of this, and of course it was made down at the My Father factory in Esteli. It's got a woodsy, cedary aroma with a little bit of spice. And then one of the things is that a lot of people will say this is a. Is it going to focus? Focus. A lot of people think that this is what they will call this a pigtail, but really from what I've been reading, this is actually what they call a flag tail, because it's not round, it's not coiled up, it's just kind of flattened, right? So they call this a flag tail. But that looks good. Looks like we're gonna get into it. Again, cutting with the Zycar MTX. All right, give it a little cut there. Mm-hmm. Try to keep it nice. The cold draw feels. Actually, the cold draw is pretty nondescript. Like there's not much of anything coming through. I mean, even the wrapper on the lips, there's really, it's relatively nondescript. Maybe a slight mustiness to it. I don't know. That's weird. All right, we're going to try to light it up. We're staying with matches still. I'm trying to go through all the matches. All right, there we go. All right, there we go, fully lit. They're doing some road construction on the main road, which we're right at the corner. And you probably can't see it, but there's actually a big backhoe rolling up the street with like tracks. And everyone, it's not every day. It's kind of like every few weeks they're back, and they've got big machinery, and it really does shake the building. So we're getting now initially pepper, spiciness, maybe hints of cedar. The draw is pleasant, nice. The amount of easy draw with a good amount of resistance. There's a good amount of smoke. So that good amount of smoke is going to give the palate a lot of flavor. But right now it's mainly cedar, pepper, maybe some other light spiciness to it. Maybe like an Old Spice. Ooh. This is where you kind of like have to be a little bit careful, right? So if you look here, it's starting to, the start is uneven. Now, is that because it's actually burning unevenly, or because, of course, in lighting the cigar, one side gets lit first and it's just starting, so we'll go easy on the puffing so it can try to catch up. But still, it's a pretty deep indentation, right? Looking nice and toothy. Yeah. It's smoking nicely. Smoking nicely. So what have you guys been smoking this week? I've been smoking since I last saw you guys on Thanksgiving. I've been doing these marathons. So like on Friday, I was watching, I try to catch up on the TV shows that I watch, and like Friday was, what is it? Star Trek Discovery and The Mandalorian. And then I watched something else. What did I watch? I think I watched a movie. Oh, I watched Tenet. I got Tenet. Freaky movie. Freaky. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's freaky. That Christopher Nolan, I don't know how his mind works, but he really has some interesting and some freaky like ways of telling a story. But Tenet is really quite good. And all this time for the last few months, I've been telling my friends I want to go see that movie, and I've been calling it Tenet because I heard someone call it Tenet, like French, right? But it's actually Tenet. It's actually Roman and in origin. And yeah, it's a really interesting movie that has a lot of the concepts that are really well thought out. So I highly recommend you checking that movie out when you get a chance. It's so I did a three cigar night that night. What did we do? I did the I don't know about you guys, but I write all of my cigars down. Mainly because I'm just curious to what I've smoked, right? So what did I smoke the other night? So it was I did Aroma Craft Intemperance Ambition, and then I did a Revenge, and then I did an old La Aurora Preferido that I had from like 2001. And that was good. Actually, the Preferido was like last week we talked about cigars and how they have peaks and valleys, right? Sometimes they're fallow. I think the Preferido in this time is in its fallow period because it was a bit of a chore. It wasn't as pleasure. The pleasure wasn't tremendous in smoking that. So we're still burning unevenly, even though I've tried to keep the puffing to a minimum. It's not quite caught up. But even though that it's very much this cedar, spice, pepper, and in some ways I think it's a little bit on the not terribly exciting side. There's something about the cigar that's actually quite enjoyable. So like this idea of slowing down because it's burning uneven, I kind of don't want to do that. I kind of want to just keep going because it is quite pleasurable. But actually, I wonder if there's some kind of tunneling happening right here. If you look closely, there's a little bit of, looks like a hole right here at the lowest point, right? Looks like there's a little bit of a hole there. I'm going to slow down, even though I would like to continue powering on with this. Tony's back. Hey, Tony, how's it going? The Triunfador Lancero with the Diet Pepsi. Excellent, excellent. So since you're back, do you have to quarantine in PA for the next 2 weeks from after going to California? No, George, unfortunately, the La Aurora I smoked last of the three. So I did, which is probably a big problem with smoking the, two intemperance, Roma Craft intemperance before it. It's like your palate's getting hit with this robust flavor, that manbacco that they call it, of Roma Craft, and then you're trying to go through something that's a little bit more, maybe faded, it has a little more nuance like the La Aurora. So that's probably a lot of it has to do on me. And that for me, that's one of the problems. I enjoy these Roma Craft Intemperates so much. The BA, the Brazil Arapiraca wrapper ones. I enjoy them so much that I want to smoke them right away. But I really do need to be careful, because if you're smoking something like, let's say like the Abe Flores Series Privada 1975, the Madura SP54, that is a beautifully structured, flavored spiciness cigar, but it's really light. So if you smoke something heavy before it, you've wasted your time if you smoke it after it. So it could very much be like that. Oh, so Tony, you had to take a COVID-19 test. Did you get the one where they shove it up your nose? I mean, what are the options now? That's what I haven't really figured out. I just saw today they finally come out with the vaccination card. So when they finally start giving the vaccinations, you'll get the card and you'll get it stamped and whatever, and they'll tell you, hey, this is where you have to do what you got to do, which is good, because hopefully once we get the vaccination out, and hopefully other countries will accept that and be welcoming to American citizens again, we can finally hit the road, and then we can take the Coffee and Cigar Show onto the road. So wherever I am, we can broadcast from there, smoke cigars, and relate from wherever in the world we happen to be. All right, it's starting to catch up, I guess. Maybe. No, it's not focusing. I just rotated this cigar to show the band, because I was thinking there's a head on it, and maybe the camera will think that that's a head that it needs to focus on. Because these cameras have this kind of smart focusing where it looks for eyes. All right, I'm tapping it just a little bit to clear off some of the excess. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of tunneling happening right there. You kind of see it, I think. But it's smoking nicely. I mean, it's enjoyable. And I'm saying that in a way that sounds like I'm a bit surprised. I guess I'm not, because Tatuaje has always been a very, very, very great cigar to enjoy, and I've been a big Tatuaje fan for many years. Actually, I was first introduced to Tatuaje in maybe the winter of 2004, sometime around 2004. I was in Honolulu, hanging out with my friend Frank, and one day our friend Marvin came over, and Marvin is a tobacco retailer, amongst other things. He's a sommelier, and he's a connoisseur of all things gourmet. And he brings us this cigar, and he's like, hey, I want you to try this. It's a brand new cigar company. And turns out he was one of their first accounts, and he had the Kohonu, and that was the very first Tatuaje I smoked, and I loved it ever since. That old Cuban Cuban-esque flavor. And I guess this is kind of where the Cabaiguan is targeting. It does have, when I think about it now, and just by saying that, it makes me think that, it is a very Cuban-esque, in the thought that Cubans don't really have, most Cubans tend not to be this impactful, like in your face kind of flavor, like, let's say, Aroma Craft. The Cubans tend to be more structured, more reserved, more like this. At least the really good Cubans. And this is really good. We're still getting the uneven burn. That really hasn't changed. Right? It's a little bit disappointing. But it's also, I can't slow down. So as we're smoking this, I am enjoying it quite a lot. And the question at the end of every show is, would you buy another one? And already I'm thinking now, it's like, man, this is really quite enjoyable. For reasons maybe I don't really, like we talk about other cigars, let's say like the Mil Diaz that we've had, the Crook of the Crown, Stolen Thrones. And those are all great cigars that have a lot of robustness, a lot of they're very adventurous. They're very I guess nouveau in cigars, where this is not like that. This is very much classic, is really the best way to put it. And already at this point, even with this uneven burning, it's already in the back of my mind that I would smoke more of these. If they were to have this flavor performance, I would smoke more of these, because it is that classic Cuban-esque balance. It's what it is. It's balance. It's got a lot of balance to it. There's a slight creaminess now. The spice and pepper is slightly diminished. Well, let's see a little bit more about this Cabaiguan line. I looked it up on Ministry of Cigars. They have a little bit of a blurb. They say the Cabaiguan line was launched in 2006. And I think this is a time when Pete was starting to come up with a lot more lines beyond Tatuaje. Like, I think he owns, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 brand lines. And the name comes from a city in the northern Sancti Spiritu province that is home to some of the most knowledgeable cigar men in Cuba. And then, so the first boxes of the Cabaiguan were American-made back when Don Pepin only had his small factory in Miami. That was called El Rey de los Habanos. And then, of course, he moved production to Esteli. Majority of his production goes to Esteli, where this is now made. So this is also, the Cabaiguanos also had a spin-off line called the Cabaiguan Guapo. And I guess it says here that Guapo is meant to be a one-off kind of brand, but the demand was really high and praise was too positive. So Pete turned it into a regular production line. Or 2 lines, one with a natural Ecuadorian wrapper and one with American Maduro broadleaf. And then now he's adding these 2. George says that Tatuaje pairs well with the spirit. What spirit do you think it pairs well with, George? Tell me, what do you think? Maybe I have something here we can experiment with. It makes me wonder, like maybe this would be a Speyside kind of cigar. Like I mentioned in the show about the Speyside adventure that I had in Bangkok, Thailand, where a friend of mine was like, here, smoke this Monty 2 and this Speyside. And yeah, it was totally an amazing pairing. So do you think maybe whiskey, rum, Maybe rum's too sweet. Scotch. I don't think I have Scotch. Jameson. I have Rye Whiskey from Baltimore Distillery. I'm a little bit deficient in the beverage categories. So we'll have to go with the Baltimore Epoch Straight Rye Whiskey. This was gifted to me on the show by my dear friend David Lima, the owner of the Charmery. All right, we'll try this. We'll see how this goes. See, I'm still a little bit concerned. Like, look at it's still uneven. I don't want to touch it up because I don't think it needs it. It's not. There's no problem with the burn. There's no problem with the draw. I don't believe it's affecting the flavor. So Tony says that the El Triunfador paired well with the Maker's Double Oak Stave. Oh, he had that in Cali. Excellent, excellent. Ooh. Interesting. You know, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. You know, thinking about it now, I do wonder if that space side with that saltiness would be a better combination. Maybe tomorrow when I'm back down on Hampton, I might have to ask the guys at the Wine Source for their recommendation. Yeah, this is smoking really well, but it's still burning unevenly. Man, I just want it to burn nicely. Okay. All right. So you guys, Tony, you were saying that if it's burning unevenly, I should let it sit with the longer part, the unburnt part down, right? I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna hold off for a couple minutes. Oh, I see. I want to pick it up again and have another puff. Yeah. Oof, man. So how were the Tony, when you were flying back? How are the flights? Are they pretty full? You know, do you have to? Yeah, I heard you have to wear masks the whole time. Are people, doing safe practices? Evidently, here in Maryland, we're getting a lot more cases. Someone remarked to me yesterday, like, well, yeah, we got a lot of cases, but we're not getting a lot of deaths. Well, I think maybe deaths will be coming. I mean, cases are bad enough. Actually, cases are bad enough because, you can't people don't die without the cases, right? So Tony says, bought myself a Les Finas Lames LE Petite cigar cutter on Black Friday. Oh, nice. Yeah, George has the patience level of 5-year-old. Yeah, there is that temptation. Maybe we'll try it. Maybe we'll try that. We'll go to the lighter. One nice thing about broadcasting here from the desk is that I have a lot of stuff kind of at hand. Actually, I don't know if is it starting to catch up? I'm not sure, but we'll try it. Either way, looking at the time, it's almost what? It's only 20 till 9. I feel like I'm sucking this down. I mean, which is I guess, testimony to how much I'm enjoying it. You know, if I'm going too fast, though. So Tony says people were practicing safe measures, and they were only 97 out of 175. So pretty good, because that's what you want. You want to have that space. But you flew Southwest, right? See, I think if I'm a big United flyer, and I don't think United is as conscious. Like, I think United wants to pack them in. Oscar Munoz wants to pack everybody onto the plane, get as much revenue as they can out of us. So Brian's saying, what happened to blend when the El Triunfador moved facilities? The blend changed. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something to note, because I remember, especially when, so they opened the factory like 2010, because I got a tour of the factory from Pete in 2011 when I was down in Nicaragua, and the factory was pretty new back then. So maybe around 2010 or so, 2009, they opened the new factory. And I do remember people talking about how they like the Miami stuff better. You know, and it kind of makes sense. Like, you're now going from a small operation in Miami, and you're now going to a much larger facility where you've got more rollers that you have to train to roll to your specifications. I mean, I can see that they probably did change some of their blending, because maybe the tobaccos are going to be available to them. They're going to be a little bit different. I don't know, but I didn't smoke too many of the Triunfadors. I know you're a big fan of that one. So Tony says the new blend is very enjoyable. Yeah, George says the Triunfador was awesome. Yeah, the original one was awesome. That was a great blend. I personally haven't tried the new ones. I do know some people get very excited when they find the old Triunfadors. Oh, my brother Di, how are you, my friend? How's it going? How's my nephew Dean? How's he doing? My godson Dean is a good boy. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, that's a nice pairing. This Epic is nice. That's very nice together. But I'm smoking this really fast. Makes me concerned. I'm concerned. So Di's experimenting with Bloody Marys and Marias. What is a Bloody Maria? I'm not familiar with that one. I was experimenting today. Not experimenting, but I was working on. I was in the mood for General Cho's chicken, so I made some myself. The General Cho is quite easy to make overall. You just got to have everything lined up, but it's really quite simple. George says, "We'll need 2 cigars." I might, at this rate, with this kind of cigar, I might. So Bloody Maria is the same ingredients, but with tequila instead of vodka. Is that correct? That kind of sounds like when you're in Mexico and you're getting tequila, a lot of times they'll ask you if you want to have something called sangrita. And sangrita, to me, tastes a lot like a Bloody Mary, like a small Bloody Mary, but it's non-alcoholic. So you're actually, taking your tequila. You're taking a sip of tequila and then a sip of the sangrita. And basically it's like a spicy tomato sauce or tomato drink, juice. And Tony says supposedly on the Nicaraguan N series Maduros, Pete adjusted blends to the Vitola size. Oh, that's nice, Pete. That's nice. I haven't asked him about that. I haven't seen him. Normally I get to see Pete at least once a year when he comes to visit Raoul in September, but of course we didn't have that this year. And then a lot of times when I'm in LA, I'll stop by and visit with him and hang out. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so right now, maybe I need to slow down a little bit more because maybe I am going too fast because that last puff, it's a little bit on the warmer side. It's getting a little bit hot. So I'm going to put it down for a moment. Let's wait 2 minutes. I'm going to use a timer. And we're going to set 2 minutes. We're going to let the cigar rest for 2 minutes while we practice some discipline. Man. So Rusty, are you all in? Are you doing all virtual now? Is that what's happening, or have you? Or I mean, are you doing from home or still from school? My niece just at her school they just had a COVID outbreak, so she's been home doing the virtual thing while all of her friends and all of her classmates have been at school. It's like I think there's of her grade, there's only like 2 people that are home. So she's been like, well, I've been home the whole time. So it turns out that was a fortuitous move because now the entire school is virtual. But they had their report cards because the kids are on trimesters. And so my brother showed me their report cards and I was like, oh man, A's, A's, A's. I was like, right on, kids are doing good. So Brian's asking, what's with the deal with the red light in the background? It's actually orange. So it's a little bit hard to see because, we've got the window here that has the blinds, and I guess on the screen it looks blue. It's actually purple and orange, and just put the colors there just to try to give it a little bit of flavor instead of just like white light. That's all. I had to clean. I officially have more kids virtually than in class. It's depressing. Oh, I forgot to wait. See, I forgot to wait. But now we've got 2 minutes, so that's good. Actually, I don't even know if I stopped. So went back to a hybrid schedule this week, but the numbers overall are going up. My guess was back to fully. Yeah, probably. My friends have been telling me that here in Maryland, supposedly tomorrow, Friday, is when the governor is going to announce more restrictive measures on pretty much everything. So evidently what I've been told is that he'll be announcing tomorrow that we're going to have no more indoor seating for any kind of food operation. I'm not clear when that'll go into effect, but I'm sure when he says it, he'll tell us. So it's getting pretty heavy. It's getting pretty heavy again. But if they go fully virtual, teachers say, yeah, I guess in your situation, it's much better for you to be at school teaching because you've got all your facilities there. I mean, do you have kids that are will you have kids that are at home doing virtual classes that are actually able to cook in their own kitchens and try the techniques that you're teaching? So Inting says travel ban in effect today for California residents. So California residents cannot leave. Is that what they're saying? Oh man. Yeah, kind of crazy again. Then I saw on CNN earlier today, they said that Biden will ask the nation to wear masks for his first 100 days. 100 days of mask wearing. Not too bad. We've already been doing it for, how many days have we been doing this now? We have been in since March 18th. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Now we're pushing 9 months. 9 times 30. So we're already almost 270 days in. So 100 days of mass, easy peasy, easy peasy. Rusty says, my admins told the kids that they are not allowed to cook at home or even use a knife. Oh, liability. Really? Liability? At home they have liability? So how do you teach cooking if they don't get to cook? You know, Rusty, what you should maybe think of doing, and I don't know if your contract allows this, but maybe you should record your classes. Record the classes as you're doing it, and then create your own YouTube channel with those videos. Huh? Master going long past, yeah, but that's what I think he said that, you know how they have the first 100 days in office kind of thing? I think he's just asking people. I think sounds to me more like a publicity stunt. But evidently he's going to keep Fauci to be on his team. And what else is happening in the world here? Oh, evidently there's a new, I don't know if you've seen this in Utah, there was that monolith, that big metal thing that appeared out of nowhere in the Utah, like land management people found it. And they weren't going to tell you where they found it, but some people did. And then suddenly it disappeared. And then like once it disappeared from Utah, it showed up in Romania. I think it just disappeared from Romania, and now it's in California. So I don't know what that is, but you know what? If it turns out that this monolith is actually the arrival of aliens, you know, it wouldn't be surprising anymore. It would just be 2020. Did you see the South Park Pandemic? I did not see the South Park Pandemic special. I heard about it, but I have not seen it. I had a couple friends tell me that it wasn't that big of a deal. But they did tell me that one scene where, I don't know who it was, maybe one of the kids evidently took a picture of himself and then put it on the screen so that it looked like his teacher was. I can totally see my nephew doing that. He's very ornery in that respect, but he does very well at school. So, you know, he's very, very smart, surprisingly enough. Yeah. See, record all your demos, Google Drive, but start live from Oprah's kitchen. That's what you should be doing. And Inting says monolith looked like Tesla SUV. That's good. And Tony's asking, how about the new Borat? I have not seen the new Borat. You know, to be honest with you, I'm really not a fan of Sacha Baron Cohen. Right? That's his name, right? Sacha Cohen Baron, whatever. I'm not really a big fan. Especially I wasn't a fan of his after I learned that he married Isla Fisher. I wanted to marry Isla Fisher. But since he's there, I definitely don't like him. But speaking of shows, like we were saying before, like I didn't realize this right away, but like evidently all the network TV shows are coming back. So I just found out over the weekend that the Blacklist had returned. They already had two weeks worth of episodes. And then I found out SWAT had already been out again. So there's actually 4 weeks. So what's been out the longest? They had 4 episodes. Navy SEAL, or SEAL team starts this week. Magnum PI, I think, starts this week. Is that right? What else is starting this week? I think that's it. Yeah, Magnum PI is tomorrow on Friday. And then, of course, tonight is Star Trek Discovery, and I think Mandalorian's tonight as well. Although I heard that the next Mandalorian, which is Chapter 14, is only 32 minutes. Which actually, when I read about that, really kind of irritated me. It's like, you know, there's only so many. Like a lot of these network shows now are doing 10, like these non-network shows, I guess you'd say, the non-major network shows. They're only doing like 10 episodes each. So if you're only doing 10 episodes, give us a damn hour. I don't want 32. I don't want like an hour one week, 40 minutes the next, 32 minutes the next week. I want an hour. We only have the possible 10 hours. So give us the full 10 hours, right? You know what I'm saying? 32 minutes. I don't care. I don't care about this whole, like, let's condense it down to tell us the narrative, right? When it comes to Star Wars, give us more, because you've cheated on us with the last 3 movies, right? I don't know what you guys are feeling on this, but the last 3 movies with the Skywalker, the whole Rey series, that was just disappointing. It's just like, you know, I don't even watch them because they're just so disappointing. It's just like it's fan, what is it called? The fan service, right? It's all the same stuff over and over again. Nothing new. Freaky is on VOD tomorrow. Wait, Freaky? What is Freaky? And what is VOD? And Tony's asking, have I got my Baby Yoda Chia Pet? Actually, Baby Yoda has a name now. It's Googa, whatever. Gruga? Or am I dropping spoilers? Sorry. If you haven't watched it, sorry, that's spoilers. But the Baby Yoda does have a name now. And the Baby Yoda has been established as not being Yoda. Like, there's been some people that are like, maybe this is Yoda reincarnated, or maybe this is Yoda, you know, when he was young. No, there is another Yoda. This is another being. And evidently, there's no known planet where these Yoda things are from. Evidently, there's only Yoda and this Gruger, whatever his name is. Oh, video on demand. Freaky is the new slasher flick with Vince Vaughn. Oh, Vince Vaughn. He's kind of funny. Playoff for Freaky. So is Vince Vaughn switching positions with, like, his son or something? So the cigar's still going. We're going pretty fast, but it's going well, man. It's quite enjoyable. Oh, let me just answer this. I have a dinner tomorrow night to attend, and the group of people I'm supposed to have dinner with, they want to do Korean barbecue, and so they're like, oh, now we're a little bit concerned with the COVID. We don't want to go indoors. Maybe we should just order out. And I was suggesting, why don't we just, like, make our own? Oof. Smoky. Oh, switch with a female, a teenage female. Vince Vaughn as a female, teenage female. That's funny. You know, that reminds me of when I was watching, I just saw this video on YouTube that was about Harry Potter. And so I don't know if you guys follow the Harry Potter movies much, but the last movie, The Deathly Hallows, right? There's this character, you know, one of Harry Potter's close friends is Hermione Granger, right? And she's this girl, and they're trying to, and so one of the evil characters, and what do they call that? I can't remember what they call them. The Death Marchers, right? Is Bellatrix Lestrange, which is played by Helena Bonham Carter, I've been a fan of her since she was in A Room with a View back in the 80s. But the story goes is that Hermione is now impersonating Bellatrix Lestrange. And so in the movie, you see Bellatrix Lestrange acting like she was Hermione Granger. Like Hermione is trying to pretend that she's Bellatrix. And I never thought about this because it really does seem like it does play very believably. But it really is Helena Bonham Carter playing Hermione pretending to be Bellatrix. And I was watching there's a behind the scenes video about that where Helena Bonham Carter really took the time to interview Emma Watson and tried to really mimic her character. And I was thinking about it, I was like, man, she does it so effectively that it really does seem to me that it was basically, you'd think that it was just Emma Watson that they've CGI'd into looking like Helena Bonham Carter. But it really is just Helena Bonham Carter acting as though she was, Emma Watson pretending to be Hermione, who's pretending to be Bellatrix. And so just talking about Vince Vaughn becoming a female teenager just kind of reminded me that. And I thought that was an interesting thing that just shows Helena Bonham Carter really is a fantastic actress. Yeah, this is smoking really well. At one point, it was a little bit on the hot side, so I put it down for a minute or so. It's evened out. And that's the thing. It's not, like I said earlier, it's still not a cigar that's got a lot of, right? It's not this bold, in your face where we're cigars and we're just kicking ass. This is just refinement and balance and classic flavors. It's like you want to smoke more of these. Now, I don't know, something like this. This is the question that George brought up earlier when I talked about the Preferido. Like if you were smoking, you're having a night of smoking 2 cigars, 3 cigars, I guess the question is, where should this come up? It's a very classic flavor. It's a very smooth and very enjoyable. It might be best to start this first. Like this is the first cigar before you move into more powerful cigars. So in a June 2014 review of the Corona Guapos, they gave this a 92 points with a lot of cocoa powder sweetness, black pepper, cedar, leather. And there's a lot of that cedar, that black pepper, a little bit of leather maybe. I don't really get the cocoa powder. I don't really get much sweetness. I definitely see, George, why you love this cigar. It's excellent. Kind of a surprise, in that I'm having such a reaction to it without all of the boldness that like the Mil Diaz or the Crook of the Crown or the Roma Craft series tends to have. This is just more classic. And I think that's really what attracted me to Tatuaje as an overall brand to begin with, is this classic kind of Cuban-esque flavor. And I think maybe this is even more so than the Tatuaje. The Tatuaje's got a lot more pepperiness, I think, a little bit more bold. This is a little more, I guess, refined, balance. Balance, really, it's really about balance. I think the box of 24 is about $230. Which I do think, is a little bit pricey. It's like I said, this one I got from Rose. It's $11.95. So that $12 mark has always been kind of like, for me, the right on the cusp of where I start to hold back a little bit. And that comes from the old days of smoking the PGs, the PG Bellicose Maduro that I think is overall my favorite cigar. That's always classically been at least $12 to $13. And even back in like 20 years ago, it was like $12. And that's always been kind of my break off point. It's like, once you start getting past $12, it's like there's a lot of thought that I put into thinking about, do I really want to spend that kind of money? But I guess the days of getting this cigar at $7 is long gone. But if I think about it, even back in the old days in the 90s, to get this kind of Cuban-esque flavor, let's say you were to go to the Monte Cristo No. 2 Habano, even back then, you'd probably get the Monte Cristo No. 2 for about $20. So, if you're thinking that this is the kind of performance you like, and think about, okay, the alternative is to go with Cuban, and the Cubans are going to be 20 and up, it's still fairly a good deal. So Tony says the original Tatuaje brown label is supposedly an homage to the Cuban Monte No. 2. I can see that. One thing I must say about the original Tatuaje line is that it has a much greater consistency than the Monte Cristo No. 2. Like, you get, as all of you guys know, you get the Monte No. 2, and depending where you get it, it could be amazing, and it could be completely flat and disappointing, all for the same price. And George says some $14 to $15 cigars are not as good. Yes, that's very true. You know what would have made, like, so what, 2 weeks ago we did the Bolivar. If, I guess it's General, whoever owns that brand now, if they could produce something like this for that price point, my God, that would be something. And then speaking of the brown label Tatuaje, one thing I remember, and I don't know if this is true, like I remember hearing at one point that the brown labels were only made in Miami. I don't know if that's true anymore. I mean, it seems that there's such a demand for them that that I think I imagine that they started producing some of them at least and I think they do the broadleaf in Nicaragua. I'm not sure what they still do in Miami. Maybe one of you guys know better. And also, I don't know if you guys have this feeling, like, I've been getting this feeling at cigar shops for the last, 2 years that, with the arrival of brands like Roma Craft, that are very much bolder, more forward cigars, or things like the El Huehuense, or even Saka's line of cigars, now that they're all coming out, that I get the feeling that Tatuaje is kind of has been falling out of favor with people. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if you see that where you are. I remember at the Humidor back in, it must be February, because I haven't been there since February. I remember that I was talking to the one guy that works at the Humidor, and I was like, so, and I'm always looking, when I look at Tatuajes, I've since the Kohonu, the 2003 version now, is my favorite of all of them. I'm always looking for that. So if I see the Kohonu, I'll typically buy one because I really do enjoy that cigar. And I was asking him, what about Tatuaje? Because the Humidor was this big Tatuaje account. I mean, they used to have practically everything for many, many years. And they haven't had as much recently, well, at least 10 months ago. And the guy was telling me that they were starting to pull back on them. And I don't clearly remember why they were pulling back, but that they were just pulling back. And I wonder is, for a lot of Tatuaje smokers, is the progression to go from Tatuaje to something like Roma Craft or even Saka, is that the progression that people are going through? But you know what? It's interesting. Like, smoking this is like, it just kind of reminds me at least, why Tatuaje has been such a great cigar for so many years. So Tony says some are, but now the N series is a brown label made in Nicaragua. Yeah, you know that I had the last year I was at the event, I got a box of the Escasos, the Tatuaje Escasos N series. And it's a small, like, Petit Corona, but man, is that a great smoke. Yeah, this is just really burning well, smoking well. Even now at this point that we're here, we're definitely in the last third. It's a little bit tighter. I want to say tighter. It's a little bit tighter, maybe we're starting to get a little bit of bitterness coming out. There's a little more heat because the cherry is much closer to the end of the cigar. Maybe I'm getting a little slight bite on the tongue. Maybe what I should do is like put it down for a few moments. Let it cool down. Reset a little bit. So George says the palate of America seems to be going big, fuller, and larger ring gauges. Oh yeah, yeah. We're still a big country to do the 60 plus ring gauges. I don't really smoke 60s and above, so I don't really know. Those of you that do, is there still a lot of nuance and flavor in those 60 ring gauges? Because I kind of get the feeling that they're just more about a lot of filler that may not necessarily, that's more nondescript. But I don't know, because I don't really get to smoke those sizes very often. I don't choose to smoke those sizes very often. Most of my cigar smoking tends to be in the Robusto Bellicoso Toro range. Those are the ones I seem to tend to gravitate towards. Traditionally, I've always loved torpedoes, but there's just not too many torpedoes anymore. I really wish there was more torpedo making, like the trumpet style torpedoes. Like, the only one that I can think of recent times is the La Compañía de Soberana series that Roma Craft releases, that real trumpet shaped. I really like that. And then the old, what is it? The old Romeo Julieta vintage number 6. That was, those are long gone, but that was a beautiful, beautiful size. Oh, man, that is good. That is good. So is everybody still in the same cigar? Have we moved on to something else? Any new drinks happening? So here in Baltimore, it's a little bit of a sadness. We had I haven't followed it. I used to follow the football almost, well, there was times where it was religiously, but this whole pandemic time, I really haven't paid attention. I did see that we were supposed to play the Steelers, on Thanksgiving. Then Lamar Jackson our quarterback came down with positive. I think came out positive for COVID. They pushed it back to Sunday. Then they pushed it back and they pushed it back again. And we finally played last night, I think it was. And evidently we lost 14-19. So that's 2 losses this season to the Steelers, which is, I mean, it doesn't affect me really, but it's still, those are the only games you really want to win. And the only reason I knew about this because I have a friend of mine in Hawaii that's a Steelers fan, and he's like posting about it. Which, to be honest with you, really kind of irritates me. All these people that are not from, I get it. If you're from Pittsburgh and you're a big Steelers fan and you want to, do your thing, okay, I get it. Okay, you're from Pittsburgh. I understand that. I get it. But when you're not, and you're a fan from somewhere else, and you act like you're all big and hard because your team, the Steelers, won, that just doesn't. You have no connection to the team other than the fact that you're a fan. I don't know. Yeah, former friend in Hawaii. Yeah, I have refrained from posting on his feed because I'm just like, I'm not gonna. Actually, my old girlfriend who's in Hawaii, she started dating this guy several years ago, and he's a big Steelers fan. And I was just like, oh God, I can't even talk to you anymore because, it's just like, you guys aren't even you're not from Pittsburgh. So I just think it's, whatever. So Di's asking, did I talk about the waffle stuffing? Yes, I did start off the show, but I could tell you again. So took the stuffing, jammed it into the waffle iron, and just let it run. It's really a great way to do it. Man, it turns out really well. What I did say is I also forgot to, I was so in love with the whole turkey gravy and cranberry thing with the stuffing that I totally forgot to try the stuffing waffle with just maple syrup. I think that would have turned out really well too. But it didn't occur to me at the time that I was eating because I was just eating. I did try taking some mashed potato, and I did this one. I tried doing one that was half stuffing, half mashed potato, but that was disaster. Like it just didn't form. And then the next day after that, one of my friends who's a chef here in Baltimore, he posted a picture. Where he did it with the potato, and I was like, dude, how did you make that work? He said, I just did it for 6 minutes. So he just went hardcore. He totally went. And I guess burned the shit out of it. He just burned it. So kind of like a hash brown. So it does work. But then by the time that I was going to try it, there was no more potatoes left. So I was like, well, no more potatoes. And I'm not really a big mashed potato person for the most part. So I'm not gonna make more mashed potatoes just for that. I have been working on my roasted potato game, so using Yukon Gold potatoes, rough chopping them, boiling them for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, just to cook them through, and then just taking them into the fire on the oven, getting that nice crispiness. Actually, what you do is you take in the water that you're boiling the potatoes. So you take the Yukon Gold, you skin them, peel them, rough chop them, and then you boil them with a teaspoon or 2 of baking soda. And the baking soda increases the pH of the water, which I read about it. It was the higher pH of the water, I guess, creates more craggliness to the potato as it's boiling. And then you kind of rough toss it after you drain the water out. You rough toss it to dry it out, and then also to create more mash on the surface of the potato, so that when you put it in the oven, it really gets more surface area for crispiness. George is like, stuffing waffle with some over easy eggs. Oh, that's a good idea. So while I had the waffle iron out, I did make some waffle mix. and made a couple. It had one morning where I just had straight waffles. That was good. But one thing you should do with waffles is whip butter. If you whip the butter, make it room temperature, whip it up so it's easy to spread and easier to melt in the waffle crannies. That's really the way to go. And, you know, I was just lazy to like whip butter. Actually, I'm generally lazy to whip butter. Also this week, I wanted to make, I was having the hankering for scones. So usually when I get to London, I go to this place called Fortnum Mason, and they're this old tea house, and they have this like department store. Like, you just don't think that a tea company would have a department store filled with tea and confiture and all this kind of stuff. But they've got this big department. It's like the Macy's of like tea and sweets. But on the very top floor, they have the Diamond Jubilee tea room where you can go get afternoon tea or high tea. And the difference between the two, if you haven't had it, is that high tea, you get like, you have the full tea service plus an entree, like a stewed beef or something like that. And if you go that route, which I tend to do, which is probably a bad idea because it's so much food, like, and then at Fortnum Mason, you know, you go there and they give you the whole tower that has all the sandwiches and the biscuits and the scones. And as you eat it, if you want more, you get more. And I love their scones, so I'll just order more of that. So I was really in the mood for that this past week. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make scones, and so I went down to Wegmans here. You know, I was going to make clotted cream, but clotted cream really takes a long time. So first of all, you have to get the right type of heavy cream, right? And you can't just buy whatever heavy cream is at the Giant or at the grocery store, because that's all ultra high temperature processed, you know, pasteurization. And so clotted cream doesn't work. You have to find like full cream milk from a real dairy that's only just low temperature pasteurized. And I can get that relatively simple, but you know, you take it and you put it into a pan and you put it in your oven like at 200 degrees for like 24 hours. And then you get the clotted cream after that. But really, it's just such a long process that I was just honestly lazy. And so I was at Wegmans. I was like, oh, they have clotted cream. Then I'll just buy the bottle. And then I was thinking about, okay, I'm going to get some lemon curd. Because to me, the scones with lemon curd and clotted cream, and tea, that is just all you need. That's all you need. But I was going to buy the lemon curd too. And then I was looking at the lemon curd. It's like $7-8. I was like, shit, that's a lot of money. I can buy $2 worth of lemons and make my own. And it only takes, you know, 2 hours, 3 hours. So I made the lemon curd, whipped up some scones yesterday, and finally had my afternoon tea. So I highly recommend it. So if you try it, make some scones. Scones are super easy. It's just flour and flour, sugar, salt, an egg, a little bit of milk. Stir it all together till it clumps together. Roll it into 1 inch, cut it out, bake it off at like 375, 400 until it's done. Easy, easy, easy. Had a little bit of jam, had some raspberry jam with that as well. Oh, that was good. But if you're making your own lemon curd, one thing I do recommend is to use a glass bowl. I had stainless bowls, and I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, maybe I feel like when I was eating the lemon curd, I felt like there's a tinge of metallicness to it. So if you want to avoid that, I think the best way to go is to use a glass bowl, because what you're doing, you're double boiling it, right? You're putting all the ingredients. So it's basically, what is it? It's sugar, lemon juice, lemon rind, and eggs. And then you're just whisking it over a double boiler until it thickens, and then you chill it down, and then done. So really simple approach. But I think when you use the metal bowl, and it's a stainless steel bowl, so it should be non-reactive. But I I think that I taste a tinge of metallicness to it. So use glass. So what do you guys have for dinner? Like I said, today I had General Tso's chicken. I got this great recipe where you basically take your chicken, cut it up into cubes, and then you mix it with what do you mix it in? You mix it in a solution, a marinade of dark soy sauce, Shaoxing wine, vodka, egg yolks, baking soda, baking powder, and cornstarch. Whip that up, let that marinate for a while, and then you make up a batter, a breading of flour, cornstarch, salt. Dredge that, fry that in oil until it's nice and crisp. Then you make up your sauce, and the sauce is really simple. Basically, you're taking Shaoxing wine, dark soy sauce, rice wine, a little bit of cornstarch, sugar. Mix that all together, and then in the wok or the pan, you take some ginger, freshly grated ginger, some minced garlic, chopped up green onion. Fry that up a little bit. Add some chili peppers. Fry that up a little bit more. Add the sauce to it. Cook that till it thickens and starts to glaze. Then you just dump in the chicken, toss it to coat. Done. Easy, super easy. Now it seems surprisingly easy, but really it has to be easy because if you call the Chinese carryout and you say, "Hey, can you give me some General Tso's chicken?" They're like, "Oh yeah, but it'll be ready in 10 minutes." So it's got to be fast. So I don't know why it always seems like, it seems kind of magical. You're like, "Oh, it's kind of magical." So Tony tonight had shrimp, scallops, asparagus, and mushroom risotto. Oh, that sounds good. Shrimp scallop and was all on the grill or pan sauteed or something. And Di's asking, did you make the master sauce? What's the master sauce? Is that the one for the Gen Chos? If so, then yes. The thing about Chinese cooking, the hard one that I've so far is it's super okay. The basic method is super simple, and that's the hand pulled noodles. But man, to get the hand pulled noodles to the right consistency and the right thickness, man, that's tough. That's difficult. I tried it a few times over the summer. Man, it's got the idea, but it's too thick and just not too chewy. So this is still smoking really well. We're pretty much towards the end of it. But man. So yeah, like we normally talk about, would I buy this? Yes, totally would buy this. Di says it's ramen season. Yes, it is. I wish there was really good ramen here in Baltimore. There's some okay ramen here in Baltimore that I found, but nothing that really like. Me personally, I learned to eat ramen using the Edo style ramen, the Tokyo style ramen, which is the chicken broth based ramen. It's nice when it's done really well. It's just beautiful. But here in Baltimore, everybody is hooked on the tonkotsu ramen, the pork braised, the pork bone based ramen, where they really cook the bones out so it gets all cloudy. That's good. I prefer that style of ramen broth as more of a tantan men, where you have the cold noodles and then you have the bowl of the hot sauce, the hot broth. and you're dipping it in. I tend to prefer that one. Pho is good. That's outside. I hear this tinkling, and I was wondering what's that coming from. I don't know if you heard that, but that's actually the jackhammer outside. So Dai says Batum King in Chinatown, DC, if you like chicken ramen. Oh, I'm gonna have to drive down there and check that out. You know, I don't get to DC as much as I used to. Like there was a time, you know, in the 10, 15 years ago, we used to go down to DC like weekly. Sometimes a couple times a week, you know, usually to go have dinner at a place called Le Hall, where they would have I always got their anglais for steak frites. And the nice thing about the Le Hall is that in the bar area you could smoke back then. This is prior to 2007. So we used to go there all the time. Chicken ramen now, yes, it is a good time to be hungry for that, Brian. Just got to go to DC for it. Actually, there used to be a place on 33rd Street and St. Paul, a ramen joint there, and the owner was this American guy who grew up in Tokyo, and he started a ramen joint. And to me, he did the ramen that I liked, but unfortunately, because of the COVID, he came by my shop like a couple months ago. He was like, "Yeah, man, we had to close," and I was like, "Oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that." Really good guy, man. Really good guy. I think in Belvedere Square, there's a place called AG Ramen. You know, they do the tonkatsu ramen. It's decent. Actually, what I really like about theirs is they have this really strange twist. The owner is from Malaysia, so I guess they do a Malaysian style ramen. What I like the most is that they put frisee as a garnish on top of their ramen, and I really like the bitterness that frisee adds to it. I think that's really a nice touch. So Dai says 10 ramen. You mean Tantan ramen? Tantan men? So I don't know if your brother told you this, Dai, but so Dai's brother used to be is in the Air Force and used to be based out in Yokozuna. Used to be based at the base right outside of Tokyo. So I would call him up, and Dai's wife and Dai's brother and sister-in-law would come down to Tokyo, and we'd get together and go out to eat. And there's this one place in Shinjuku, just north of Shinjuku Station. Like if you go to the northernmost exit from Shinjuku Station and you walk north another like 4 blocks, there's a place called, I think it's called not Takashimaya, Suzuki Street or something like that, ramen. And there's always a line, but man, I think they had the best tantan men that I've ever had. I mean, you go in, the broth is super thick. They give you the noodles. You dip the noodles in the broth. You eat them. And then when you're done and you still have broth left, the traditional way is that you give the bowl back and they fill the bowl with steamed rice. And then you finish the rice off in the broth. Oh, man. So Brian says, Tatuaje fell out of favor with him about 5+ years ago. Why? Why did they fall out of favor? Is it because of the Triunfador changes, or was there some kind of thing that happened to the brown line in your purview that you didn't like? Okay, my fingers are burning. Ouch. I've removed the wrapper because it's starting to fall off, and no, we're right at the very end. Oh, it's Sukumen. Yeah, you're right. Not Tantan Man. One of the craziest ramen that I ever had was this place in Shinjuku. There's a place outside of Shinjuku called Golden Guy, and there's a ramen place there called ouch. Okay, now I'm burning. Now it's burning my fingers. Now there's nowhere for me to put my fingers so they don't burn. Okay, so I'm going to drop that down now. Ugh. Very good. Very good. All right, that's done now. That's done. That was very good. A good smoke. Coffee still rolling. 1010 was the one on Charles. Yes, you're right about that. That was the one on Charles Street. I was thinking of a place. There's something called Tantan Men, but I don't remember what that is either now. Tsukemen. Yeah, that's it. But this one that I was talking about in Golden Guy, and it's only this, so it's like a chain, but only this location has this sardine-based broth that really was just unique. So sardines and kombu, really, really interesting ramen. But it's this really tiny joint, like Golden Guy. If you've ever seen the TV show from Japan called Midnight Diner, and they show this area that's really all these eateries and bars that are jammed together, that's really based off this area called Golden Guy, and the real Golden Guy is actually tighter and more dense. So this ramen joint is in Golden Guy, and it's tiny joint. You go up these tiny stairs, and it's on the second floor, and there's only like 10 seats. And the farthest seat on the bar is like this little tiny space because there's a closet or something right behind the chair. So and of course that's the only spot that I got that was open when I got there. So I'm this big guy wedged into this little tiny space, and so I'm like, my tummy's all pressing up against the bar, and my back is against the wall. But the ramen was really, really good. Really, 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 really interesting. It's very different. Then I was reading about this one place in Hokkaido, which is the northern part of Japan. It's way north. Like, it's not just Hokkaido Island. You have to go to Hokkaido, and then you have to take a train, and then you have to take a ferry to this little tiny island. And there they have this ramen that's supposedly the best ramen in Japan. And it's a kombu-based ramen. And for those of you not familiar, kombu is this type of seaweed. And yeah, people just go there and like make a trek. You know, Japanese people go there to try the ramen, and supposedly it's the best. And one day maybe I'll try to find a way to get up that way. But typically when I'm in Tokyo, it's only for a couple days. So there's really no time for me to go run around the country. So Dai says, if you're back in Japan, go to the ramen museum in Yokohama. I did 4 out of the 9 ramens that day and sweating salt. I've heard of that place. I think maybe it was you who told me about that. You know, one of my good friends, Maya, lives in Yokohama. So next time I go to visit and go down to Yokohama, I will go check that out. 4 out of 9. I wonder if I could do the 9. Maybe. All right, so that was the Cabaiguan, the Tatuaje, the new version of it, the number 54, which is a 5 5/8 by 54 cigar. Really, that ought to be really good. I really like that one. And yeah, that was really good. Very, very good. So I don't know if you've seen in the show notes. If you look at the show notes below, I've got a list of the cigars that we're going to be smoking over the next few weeks. So next week is going to be on the 10th is the Southern Draw Kudzu. And Southern Draw evidently is a newer cigar company that I had never heard of until just the other week when I went to go pick up the cigars. And then on the 17th, the week after, we're going to be smoking the M. Bombay MQBA Toro. And then the next 2 weeks after that, of course, are going to be Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So we probably won't be doing anything on those days because, you know, the New Year's Eves. And then after that, it'll be 2021. And we're going to come back with the Drew Estate Cigar Dojo Dogma, the Cigar Dojo special release. Then after that will be on the 14th will be the Illusione HL Candela. And then finally the 21st, which is as far as that I've got planned, is the Four Kicks Capa Especial Sublime. So all of those cigars are available, of course, from Tobacco Leaf and Raul. So if you want to join me in those smokes, give Raul a call or stop by and pick them up, and we'll have a new lineup to try. But I guess that'll be it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you spending the time with me again. And we're back again next Thursday at 8 o'clock. So, yeah, I guess that's good. Hope you have a great week. And catch you next time on the stream here. See you later.